In the most recent King of Puzzles contest, we had more than 1,000 kids qualify for the drawing, and one super lucky chess kid gets to play FunMasterMike. And here we go. That kid is Golgachess. Wait a minute. Am I playing a 19th century Russian poet? No. Professor of Russian language and literature. My childhood friend James McGavran has informed me that's not quite the same name. Okay, off with the game. Pawn to e4 is how FunMasterMike started. And after e5, we have ourselves knight f3, knight c6. What will I play today? I'm going to play the Re-Lopez. Now, in the Re-Lopez, I usually advise my students to play the main line, which is a6, kick the bishop. And if the bishop runs away, you can always play b5 at the right moment to stop the bishop from capturing the knight, and that keeps your pawn safe. Remember, if the bishop takes the knight right away, you can take back away from the center. Knight takes does not win a pawn because queen d4 wins the pawn back on e4. So I like the move pawn a6 in this position, but Golgachess plays knight f6, which I can't really fault. It is the #1 choice of grandmasters these days. This is called the Berlin variation, most famously used by Vladimir Kramnik to beat Garry Kasparov. That was before you were born. Okay, how do I guard the pawn on e4? I don't. I simply castled. Yeah, a little bit like my video on not defending the threat. Okay, now in this position, the most popular move is also the most scary move if you don't know what you're doing. Black usually takes the pawn. Why is it scary? Because you're opening up the e-file. But here's the main line. White actually plays d4, hoping to open up that file, but then black retreats the knight. Take, knight f5, take, and I know it feels with every fiber of your being that white should be better in this position, but you know what? Thousands of grandmasters have tried to prove that white is better in this position, but, well, ultimately it's still an open question. Still, I would not teach most chess kids to play this way as black because your king is, after all, on an open file and, not going to be able to castle. So if we go back to the game, that is the main line, though. Instead, Golga played bishop to c5, and I'm not so sure about this move. Yeah, it's aggressive. Yeah, the bishop's aiming at the middle of the board, but nothing was done to guard this pawn. Maybe just d6 would have been a small improvement. I'm not sure. Now here I could play the fork trick and play knight takes pawn, but instead I captured the knight, and after takes, took the pawn. Actually, black may have been able to avoid losing material by again taking away from the center. And here's how black avoids the loss of a pawn. If I take, black can play the incredibly scary yet technically accurate knight takes e4. And if I try to do damage on the e-file, oopsie, I hung my f-pawn, I'm going to lose my rook. Now you might say, well, FunMasterMike, you can use your queen. But after a lot of study, I've decided that black can defend everything with queen to d5, guarding the knight and also attacking my knight. So if I play d3, the queen just slides over and takes, and you know what? Black is not worse. Still, I really think this opening is dangerous for black because you're pinning all of your hopes on variations where the e-file is open. And yeah, that's like opening up your front door at night. Who knows what's going to walk in? Okay, let's go back to the chessboard. Instead, Golga took this way, and now I'm pretty sure I am winning a pawn. And after castles, here comes the snowplow, something I know far more about than 19th century French literature. Okay, in this position, black answered an attack with an attack, and that's in FunMasterMike's book of don'ts, okay? Probably just save the bishop here. But instead, you attacked my rook, and I said, thank you very much. It's 2 for 1 on avocados. No, it's actually 2 for 1 on bishops. Okay, I captured the bishop. Bishop takes, queen takes, and you know what? I am going to have some avocado toast. All right, anyway, queen to e7, the knight runs away. Yeah, I have to give away a pawn, but I've got so many good minor pieces here. I think white's doing great. Okay, queen went to g6, got to go somewhere. Bishop f4, good job by Golgachess defending all of my threats. Rook to c8. Here I decided to play h3. We call that a high-class waiting move in the business. Now, what does that mean? The pawn is wearing like a little bow tie, high class? No, it just means that it's a slightly useful move, and I'm waiting to see what my opponent's going to do. So we had rook to e8, and I simply challenged the rook, and black is kind of helping me, doing my job for me. Why not trade? Queen to d2, and oh, black is doing my homework for me. Thank you. Yeah, actually in this position, I'm very happy to trade, and Golga, I think you're being too nice to FunMasterMike by allowing all of these trades. In fact, You also lost the c7 pawn because the rook was in charge. And unfortunately here, we've been talking about Russian, but we can't forget to speak French. After d5, the pawn moved 2 squares right beside my pawn. Let's not forget about my old friend, Monsieur en passant. Pawn takes, and the fast pawn is just too strong. So Golgachess tried to put a rook behind the pawn. Solid idea. But after queen to e3, I'm forking the rook and the checkmate, and there's not a lot that can be done. In fact, if you had blocked with the rook, I was actually going to sacrifice my queen. Because after pawn to d7, you have no checks, and you also cannot stop my pawn. So I actually could just push the pawn in this position too, but you know, FunMasterMike loves to sacrifice a healthy queen. All right, let's go back. So instead in this position, we had c5, which does guard the rook, but it does not stop the checkmate. Congratulations again to Golgachess on the great game. You won the 1 in 1,000 drawing to get to play FunMasterMike, and you are now immortal on ChessKid. I hope you also learned that FunMasterMike really doesn't know what he's talking about between Golga, Gogol, and Google. Man, it's back to the books for FunMasterMike.